Hey, good afternoon. I just wanted to hop on here and share some things that I've been reading and learning in Hebrews. And I'm out here. It's Saturday. I am smoking a brisket. We are having a family dinner tonight, and my niece said she wanted a smoked red meat of some kind. So that is my girl. We're gonna oblige that and have some smoked red meat. So anyhow, yeah, so just been reading in Hebrews, and just as I continue to study through, I just am constantly struck by the things that were being communicated to the church, even in the first century. It's just really interesting how those lessons that they were learning were so timely for then, and also just great lessons for us today. So I'm going to read this short passage in Hebrews chapter 2 that I'm pulling this little, I don't know, call it a lesson if you want to call it that, but these thoughts from. And it says in Hebrews chapter 2 verses 14 through 18, therefore since the children share in flesh and blood, he himself likewise also partook of the same, that through death he might render powerless him who had the power of death, that is, the devil, and might free those who through fear of death were subject to slavery all their lives. So as we talk about Jesus, as we learn about Jesus, we always hear the almost, it's almost cliche how we talk about him conquering sin and death. But what does conquering death even mean? Because I am going to die one of these days, right? Whatever causes it, I'm gonna die of something. Probably eating too much brisket, or maybe I'll die in a gunfight or something. I don't know. Um, Anyhow, here we have the writer of Hebrews talking about the humanity of Jesus, and talking about the incarnation of Jesus and what that means for us, and what it means to be freed from slavery, from this fear of death, is really, really important. So we're obviously going to die at some point. So it's not that we're suddenly immortal, but we do have immortal souls, and our souls are immortal whether we believe in Jesus or not. But what happens to those souls in the end is really I guess, the end game for Jesus' sacrifice. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Verse 16 and 17 continues on, for assuredly he does not give help to angels, but he gives help to the descendant of Abraham. Therefore he had to be made like his brethren in all things, so that he might become a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make propitiation, which is an atonement, right? Propitiation is just a big churchy word, means atoning sacrifice, right? Jesus took our sin on the cross and took our pain, took the punishment for our sin with him when he died, right? So to make propitiation for the sins of the people. For since he himself was tempted in that which he has suffered, he is able to come to the aid of those who are tempted. So, what does all that stuff mean? Jesus identifies with mankind, right? He identifies with mankind, and was able to destroy sin and death because of the very way that he could identify. So I want to talk a little bit about the destruction of the power of death, right? And it's defined there in that passage as the devil or Satan. What does that mean? Well, Jesus has not annihilated Satan. He hasn't caused every human being on the planet to have this eternal physical life. So what does it mean? If this is the case, what is it about death that Jesus has truly destroyed? Well, think about it. What's the real power of death? When is death a bad thing? When does death have a negative power over people? Death has power in a couple of ways. First, it has the power to separate those who aren't believers from eternal life in Christ. Second, death has the power in the fact that so many people are afraid of it. Lots of people are afraid to die. They're afraid to get sick. They're afraid to suffer, afraid of hardship, afraid of a lot of things, right? But death has this power over people, right? People who aren't afraid to die are sure about a number of things. If you're not afraid to die, there are some things that you are very confidently assured of. the most important thing about which they are sure is their final state. Atheists believe that there is no afterlife. They believe that this life is all there is. Christians believe that there is an afterlife of some kind, and that the afterlife is spent eternally in a place that we call heaven, right? So here's the problem with atheism, though. I've never met a self-proclaimed atheist who was 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt completely sure that there absolutely cannot be a higher power behind creation. There's always a little bit of doubt in the atheist's mind that they're right, okay? Maybe there's doubt in the mind of a believer that the believer is right as well. I don't know. But that's not really atheism, right? So I'm not trying to demean atheists. I'm not trying to say that your beliefs aren't important. I think they're wrong, but I don't want you to feel like I'm dogging you in any way if there's an atheist maybe watching this. But I do think in the deepest of atheistic thought, there's still doubt as to this final repose, right? So it's the Christian, though, who can have true confidence of what happens after death and have confidence in living as a result of that, right? I can have confidence in how I can live because of what I know is going to happen to me. And because I know I'm going to be eternally with Christ, I know that I can live relatively fearlessly, okay? So in that confidence, there is no fear. To live is Christ and to die is gain, okay? It's a win-win. For the atheist, to live is to live and to die is whatever. They don't really know. My question is, to whom is the self-preservation instinct more important? The self-preservation instinct is what it is, but self-preservation to the atheist, they're trying to hang on to their lives as much as they absolutely can, because at the end of the breath and the heartbeat, it's done, right? For me, at the end of my breath and at the end of my heartbeat, it's not done. At the end of my breath and heartbeat, I am eternally in somewhere, whatever heaven is, right? And I'm there, and it's an even more glorious existence than living with the wife that I have. I mean, I feel sorry for guys all the time who have ugly wives who can't cook, because I got heaven on earth right here, right? But when I get to heaven, it's going to be even better than what I have now, right? So I don't have a fear really of losing my life. So when we talk about Jesus conquering death, he didn't conquer the fact that you die. What Jesus conquered was the fear of what happens when you die. And when you're not afraid to die, oh my goodness. People who aren't warriors that are not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to pick up a gun and go attack somebody who is, not really attack somebody, but defend somebody, right? I'm not afraid of that, because I know if I get killed, I'm good. I'm not afraid. Warriors that have no fear of death are the most formidable warriors on the planet. Sometimes it makes them just dumb, because their fearlessness, they don't know what to do with it, but they are absolutely, when they're fearless, oh my gosh, they will do anything to you that they need to do, and they won't stop until their job is done. So anyhow, when we talk about Jesus dying and conquering death, he conquered the fact that we don't have to be afraid. I can live my life. So when I'm not afraid of death, I'm free to live, right? I'm free to really live. You know, to live, what was that I said earlier? There was a passage. It escaped me. To live is Christ, to die is gain, right? To live is Christ, to die is gain. To die is truly a good thing, because I don't have to pay taxes. I don't have to do any of that, right? So in a lack of fear, when you lack fear, there's true freedom. And when Jesus destroyed the fear of death, he really set us free, or you should be living free. I don't have to make decisions that are based on preserving my life necessarily, because I fear death. I don't make decisions based on what will keep me comfortable. I can actually live my life without being a slave to the possibility of death, because I'm not afraid of it when it comes. I'm speaking for myself. I can say that the freedom from the fear of death lends itself to a much larger perspective. The larger perspective that the freedom from death brings is an eternal perspective on life and faith. The bottom line is that I'm going to die. One day, in some way, I will die. What will I do with the last 30 or 40 years that I have on this planet, though? What am I going to do? Am I going to spend it on other people? Will I decide to seek my own pleasure and comfort? Will I use those years to be sure others know why I have no fear of death? With a freedom from the fear of death, I can now look beyond today, beyond right now, with no fear. I have accepted my own death because I know where I'm going to spend eternity. I think that this new eternal perspective means a new outlook on how I live this last half of my life. It means that I can make decisions that move beyond comfort and selfishness. To live is to accept death and to die to self. And doesn't Jesus talk about that? Dying to ourselves, picking up your cross, carrying it, right? When we live our lives dead to our own flesh and our desires, the physical end will be much easier to accept. So at the end of the day, I hope you die. I hope you die to yourself. I hope you die to your fear. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I have not always been the guy who lived fearlessly. I have not always had this benefit of having the eternal perspective of Christ in my life. I hope I don't use that gift of fearlessness because of my eternity. I hope I don't waste it. I just don't want to waste it. Anyways, I was going to talk about something else today. This video is already about 12 minutes long, and I just don't want to spend so much time on it. But think about that. Read through those passages in Hebrews. And if you're watching this and you're a member of our church, here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. If this is your church for the week, read Hebrews 14 through 2, Hebrews chapter 2, 14 through 18. Read it through several times. Think about what it means for Jesus to have set you free. And I want you to play a what if game, okay? What if you really lived your life 100% without fear? What could it look like? What if you could do anything and do it without fear? What would you do, right? What would you do with 100% fearless living, a fearless perspective, a fearless outlook? And maybe you're an atheist out there watching this video. I don't know. Probably not very many people gonna watch these videos, but I mean, whatever. But if you are, look, I would encourage you just to think about what it might look like if you had an eternity with Christ. What if the atheistic perspective is wrong? Find a Christian and ask the question. I know a lot of Christians out there that give these stupid cliche answers. Hit us up at White Oak. I'd be glad to have a conversation with you, because I've not always been the guy who believed that Jesus was the resurrected Son of God. To be totally honest with you, I've had to fight my way there. Even there have been times as a believer that I have lost sight and had to come back to my first love, right? So anyways, but read the passage, read it through, pray it through, and then take a walk. Take a walk, go for a drive, take your kids out for some ice cream or something, and just think about what it means to live fearlessly. What would you do with it? So anyways, I love you guys. I hope all is well with you, and I'm going to finish cooking up this brisket here, and hopefully not kill anybody tonight when they eat it. So I hope y'all are well, and I will see y'all soon. Bye now.